Namaskar. Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host Shreyaya. Joining me today is Colonel Ajay Raina as we talk about what took place around 1947. Was there was there a strategy by the British to keep India divided and also to create a buffer zone and also to make sure that Kashmir as a whole went to Pakistan and they wanted to just cut off India's crown. So all these things and more. Colonel Ji is a historian. Let's welcome him. Namaskar, sir. How are you?
Namaskar, Shirji. Namaskar, everybody. Great. Thank you. Thanks
Sir,
for.
you have a unique talent. Sorry to cut you off, sir. I thought you were done. You have a unique talent. You are a writer, you are a historian, and you are also a soldier. From a perspective of what took place, let's go back to 1947. Mountbatten comes in as the last viceroy, and he moves it forward by a year. The idiot, if he had not moved it by a year, Pakistan would not have happened. Jinnah would have died before that. And then there was this doctor, some Gupta or Patel or something like that in Mumbai, who was his physician, who knew Jinnah did not have much time left, and he was following the Hippocratic oath and did not tell anybody. Be that as it may, all these things have happened. Take us back to 1947 because there was a clear-cut conspiracy here to try and completely give Kashmir over to them, and I don't know how India managed to even get what little they got. Over to you.
Thank you, Shirji. This is actually the right moment because, on 8th, 9th October 1947,
Yes.
the princely state of Jammu and Kashmir was actually invaded for the first time. 22nd October was when Kashmir was invaded. And as it happens with Jammu always that nobody talks or people don't even know that Jammu was invaded before that, Jammu province. So whatever it was, we need to go back to 46 to understand the whole thing. Before Mountbatten walked in, Wavell was the
Yes,
viceroy.
Viceroy. Yeah.
He had drawn out a plan uh, where they, if I just summarize it aimed to divide India or partition the subcontinent into India, Pakistan, and Princestan. Now, Princestan was basically, there are total of 580 plus princely states, out of which 560 odd came to India later. The plan was to identify 16 or 17 or maybe 20 major states. Like J&K was the biggest geographically, Hyderabad was the biggest population wise, and there were other big states. And the surrounding areas, the other states adjoining these states, were supposed to be merging with them. So the aim was to have about 18 to 20 or 22 kind of different nationalities, different nations in this subcontinent. This was actually Churchill's dream. Churchill never wanted independence to be given to India. And when options were running out, he was losing elections after World War II. He lost elections, and Attlee came in. Attlee under American pressure, they said okay, because we know end of World War II also meant end of British supremacy, and then US taking over the affairs on what was being handled by UK earlier. So Attlee was very clear that India had to be divided. So when Wavell plan was being kind of discussed in India, you had Muslim League, you had Congress, and you had chambers of princes. The chamber of princes or princes chamber was the body representing all princes, princely states of subcontinent at that time. So understanding that time was that princes will get an option either to join one or two dominions, that is India and Pakistan, or remain independent. And the underlying thought behind, like I said, independent meant you had to be big enough to remain independent, or you had, like, you go and join up with one of the other princely states instead of joining either India or Pakistan. This was happening, being discussed, being thought of, being believed till February 47. Then comes Lord Mountbatten. And when he comes and he has this job given to him, and Attlee wanted partition, and they wanted two dominions, and those dominions should remain faithful to Commonwealth. So there were other things also there. So this plan of creating Princestan was shelved. Now, but though Churchill was LOP, like we have LOP in India here today, but he had powers. He had influence in British scheme of things. So Lord Mountbatten went to meet him. So Churchill was so upset that he actually refused to meet him. But Lord Mountbatten, again, King George's cousin and all, he also had his own status. So he agreed to meet him. When he went to his place, this is all written in Mountbatten's own papers. So he was told that Churchill Sahib is very, very sick and he's in his bedroom. So when Mountbatten walks in, he finds Churchill lying on the bed, facing away from the door, facing other side, towards the window, and not looking at Mountbatten, not welcoming him. But then they talk, and Mountbatten tells him very cleverly, I'm going to partition India. He doesn't tell him I'm going to partition India only in two parts. Winston Churchill, who wanted to hear what he wanted to hear, he took it that Mountbatten is going to implement that plan of India, Pakistan, and Princestan. So suddenly he turns around, jumps out of bed, and he's normal. He's all right. So with this kind of uh, background, Mountbatten lands up here, and now work starts on two states, India and Pakistan. And like you said, Jinnah was terminally sick, but creation of Pakistan is not Jinnah's doing. Jinnah was a tool. It had to be done. Even if Jinnah were to die in 1946 itself, Pakistan would have been born because that was a British plan. The background, and that answers your question, primary question is, when Britishers fought World War One and World War Two, Russia was fighting alongside, and Russian and Tsar and King George had a relationship also, family relationships, but there's a mutual trust was totally absent. So while Russia was fighting alongside, there was an agreement called Hyde Park Agreement, which took place between USA and UK, in which it's a very cleverly worded document. It was kept secret for years, but later on it came out. It is there. Copy of that is in one of my books. It talks of some components, very strange names, new names. Like today, if you talk of something which is yet to be invented, so I'm forgetting the actual word, ceramics or something, and they said no other country should be able to make it. Basically, what they decided that other than Americans, and if required, British, no third country should be allowed to carry on with the nuclear program, because by that time America had already had atom bomb ready, and now what they did to Hiroshima and Nagasaki is history. So as per that document, they now wanted to make sure that nobody else is allowed. And who else was trying to get into race? That was Russia. Now Russia had inched forwards right till border of Afghanistan. That was part of Great Game, which got over officially after both sides said, okay, no more. Afghanistan will be buffer and we'll stay either side of Afghanistan. That finished officially in 1906. But the distrust, that lack of trust, and of course distrust is same thing, that continued. So what Britishers did, they set up a seismic monitoring center, earthquake monitoring center in Gilgit, which was part of Jammu and Kashmir. Gilgit had been taken as a region on lease from Maharaja of Jammu and Kashmir in 1935 for 60 years. So Britishers had no plans to leave actually till at least till 1995. So in 35, they took it on lease. They set up a center there. Why? Because Russians were at that time mining in Xinjiang. And Xinjiang had a lot of uranium and other radioactive material. So these guys will pick up, dig out, mine that stuff, and go back about 600 kilometers away from Gilgit border. And that was the place where Russians had their laboratory. The name is in my book. I can't pronounce it. It's a very long Russian name. Starts with S. Now, Britishers, how to monitor whether Russians are doing something hanky-panky regarding radioactive material or not, how to check that, they had two options. One was to fly a plane over that area, and once the plane landed, you could check the body of the plane and look for radioactive particles. That was beyond them. Russia wouldn't have allowed that. Second was set up a earthquake monitoring station and look for unusual seismic activity. So Gilgit, they couldn't have given to anybody, because while they were leaving, Russia was still building its nuclear assets, and America also wanted to keep their monitoring on. Plus, this Kashmir thing, this Pakistan, the birth of Pakistan, the root of the Pakistan is basically a British idea where they said the future war, the Third World War, will be fought between West and Russia. Something which even they're saying even today when they fight over Ukraine. So this apprehension they had, So they wanted a footpad, a place in the subcontinent from where they could get in, go through Afghanistan, and then take on Russia if required. Now, in British scheme of things, while Gandhiji also had kind of like Jinnah was their tool, Gandhiji also had affiliations with British. We all know that came out later. But Gandhi was very unpredictable. Sardar Patel was very tough. So they knew that over years, if this trend continues, Indian leadership will be strong-headed, or they'll be strong enough to say no to us in future. So they wanted a small, weak, and manipulatable country next to India, and a Muslim country, which could be used for two purposes. First was to take on Russia as and when required, and of course the Gilgit station was to be kept under their control. And second, to have ties with Muslims to the west, the Arab world to the west. They wanted a pimp, so they created Pakistan. So Jinnah, whether he would have lived or not, doesn't matter. Pakistan would have come into play, existence. So when the boundary commission was sitting and deciding, now partition of India was happening of British India, not the princely states of India. So when this thing happened on 9th of August 1947, Mountbatten had Radcliffe's file on his table, where he had proposed give this area, the border areas, which area to go where. But deliberately, they declassified this information on 16th of August. In that era, when we didn't have internet, we didn't have WhatsApp, nothing, the information started coming out of corridors in Delhi on 17th August morning. And of course, you can imagine how much time the thing would have taken to reach a place called like Kashmir, Srinagar in Kashmir. Next day, 18th, the British Army Chief, General Masarvi, signs a operational order, a secret operational order. Operational plan was named Operation Gulmarg, and it was addressed to the military formations of Pakistan. Now you imagine, you are born tonight, you don't even know which village along the boundary is part of your country or is going to be part of Bharat. And a day later, you already have an operational plan already written, dictated, signed, and transmitted to military formations, telling them how to take Kashmir from Maharaja. Because that time Jammu and Kashmir was yet to sign instrument of accession. So this is on 18th of August. And the background of all this, how it would have happened, we can now look back and visualize. When these two nations were, India was made independent and Pakistan was created, all six chiefs of Army, Navy, Air Force, three on either side, were all British officers. The person controlling all these six guys was Field Marshal Achin Lake, who was the Supreme Commander, and who reported to Mountbatten. Mountbatten wanted to be Governor General of both India and Pakistan. His papers say so. Pakistan refused because Jinnah said, no, I'll be the Governor General. So he stayed back as Governor General of India. So all these officers, though when you look at Achin Lake's papers or people who have written about him, they give him a clean sheet that he was not aware. But chief to chief, Masarvi had signed the order himself. General Masarvi, Pakistan chief. We had Lockhart as our chief that time. So they were talking to each other every day. And in February 48, Masarvi went off on a long leave and Gracie took over, General Gracie in Pakistan. And here General Butcher came in India. These guys are also talking through and through, and talking to make sure that beyond a point, there's no reaction. Pakistan doesn't cross a line. India doesn't react so violently that Pakistan's existence comes into under threat, because that was a time when British Indian Army was being reorganized. Hindu and non-Muslim troops who were still in Pakistan, they were being brought in, and Muslim troops who had opted to go to Pakistan, they were being sent back to Pakistan. So exchange of troops was happening. So if somebody tells me today that it was a Pakistani ploy, Pakistan which was born a day prior, Pakistan whose army was not even ready, the troops which were supposed to come part of Pakistan army were still in India, and our troops were across the line, and great guys like Brigadier Usman, whom Jinnah had promised that if you come and join army in the Pakistan army, I'll make you chief of army staff. He had refused and he had stayed back commanding a brigade in Indian Army. So this clearly tells us that unless until there's somebody else at work, somebody else who's been planning about it, a newly born nation, that too kind of nation called Pakistan, couldn't have planned this. And more so because even Ochin Lake had written a paper about 10 years before independence where he had regretted that why on earth did we give this land to Maharaja Gulab Singh of Jammu and Kashmir. We should have retained it. In 1905, British almost sacked J&K king, and they wanted to take over. One leak happened in Amrit Bazar Patrika of Calcutta, and the thing reached London. Once they were caught, they became uh, very agitated, and all those MPs shouted in the parliament. They said, no. So Maharaja of Jammu and Kashmir, who had been sacked by British in 1889 and kept as a ceremonial head, he was reinstated in 1905. So Britishers were time and again trying to take Kashmir back, Jammu and Kashmir back. And when idea of Pakistan was propagated and Pakistan became reality, it was understood that Jammu and Kashmir will go to Pakistan. Two reasons. Firstly, source of water for Pakistan. Pakistan's biggest vulnerability. Britishers even thought so. They visualized that vulnerability way back in 1940s. That if India, somebody else had control over waters, Pakistan could be blackmailed. And Jinnah, as he used to say, that K in Pakistan stands for Kashmir. So if there's no Kashmir, Pakistan will be a lame duck. But like I said, Gilgit was that seismic station, planning to have a showdown with Russia in 10 to 12 years or maybe a couple of decades later, which of course never happened, World War III. So these were the reasons. And Operation Gulmarg. And how do we know that Operation Gulmarg thing happened and who signed it? There was a brigade in Bannu. Bannu is in news even today, KPK. So Bannu Brigade, there was a British officer who was commanding, brigadier, and his brigade major was that time Major Kalkat, a Sikh officer of British Army. So, brigade majors are upcoming talented officers who have a lot of potential. They're good people. They've done certain courses, very important courses, and then are appointed as, even today, now brigade major is called GSO1 in Indian Army, but that is, so he's supposed to be commander's right hand. Commander is a brigadier and he's a major, but the intimacy and that kind of trust is always there when you look at any BM in command. So when this letter reached Bannu, and the letter said invasion will happen on 22nd of October 1947. These are the Lashkars. So every Lashkar was 1,000 tribesmen commanded by army major of Pakistan Army and 10 JCOs helping him, plus anybody and everybody from Pakistan Army who wanted to be part of this jihad against Hindu Raja. He was allowed to join these Lashkars. Only thing they were supposed to do was they were supposed to sign the leave certificates, leave applications without putting dates, and they were to go and fight in disguise. They couldn't wear uniform and go. That was only the condition. So Britishers made this plan, and Pakistanis were used as tools. All these northwestern frontier province tribesmen were gathered by a governor who had been governor of NWFP, British governor, for 3 terms, and he was specially called back or requested by Jinnah to be appointed as governor after independence once again. And he's the guy who actually was very close to all tribal chiefs. He used to sit and offer namaz with them, and he's the guy who actually got everybody. So Major Kalkat, when the letter came, the security classification was secret. So how it happens in army, even that time it used to happen like this only. If there's a letter which is classified, it will be sealed. On top of it, address of the person who's supposed to open it, and the thing written secret or whatever. Then it is put in another lifafa. The outer envelope doesn't read that word secret, so nobody is basically to avoid attention. And then the address of the headquarters or whosoever is supposed to receive. So when Major Kalkat opened the letter, he found that secret thing inside. So being brigade major, who has this authority to open secret communication even when commander is not, he opened the letter. When he read it, so his eyes popped out that what is being planned. And now this Major Kalkat was supposed to come back to Indian Army. Like I said, exchange of transfer troops was still happening. So he called up his brigade commander who had gone to a unit which he had commanded about, I think couple of hours away from Bannu. And he says, sir, please come back. It's something very urgent. I can't tell you on phone. So commander comes back. He reads the letter and he asks Major Kalkat, did anybody see you read this? He said, no. While they were talking, a Muslim JCO Pakistan, who later on was supposed to go to Pakistan, who was a head clerk of the brigade, he heard the conversation standing outside commander's office. And he alerted his friends that this news which is secret, which has just landed up in our headquarters, I don't know what news is that, but I have heard commander asking brigade major BM, and BM saying nobody knows, and commander told him make sure that nobody knows that you read it, otherwise you will not be able to go back to India, you will be killed. So Major Kalkat, his wife and infant child, when they were supposed to come to India a few days later, and now this brigade commander also left. After 4 or 5 days, he left because Britishers were leaving. So a new brigade commander from Pakistan came, a new brigade major came. Major Kalkat handed over charge to him. And next day when they were supposed to go, they were told that the plane has not come, something has happened, and they were basically kept under house arrest. So this couple stayed in a undeclared house arrest, and then they understood that they will not survive. Luckily, they had a Sahik, the buddy, who made sure that Major Kalkat during World War II had fought with a unit which was also in Bannu. So this information was taken to that unit by the buddy, and unit sent that one officer of that unit who had fought alongside General Bannu, a Muslim officer who later on joined Pakistan Army. He sent his two subedars, JCOs, to Major Kalkat's house just to look him up. It's a tradition, like if you serve together and then you happen to reach same station again, you come and you interact. So they told him, sir, there's a guard outside. Now they will not let you go. So we are going for an exercise to Miawali, Imran Khan's village. So your only chance is to come and go with us without telling anybody. So this plan is made around after dinner, 1 hour days when they fixed. This couple is sitting outside, very warm. So that house used to be very warm. So they were sitting in the lawn, which was a routine. They used to sit in the lawn after dinner for a couple of hours every day because he had nothing to do. He had hand over his charge. He was just sitting at home. And he was told to call, the routine there was, he was supposed to call up the new brigade major morning 6 o'clock and evening after, around dinner, just to make sure that he's. So that day, after having spoken to brigade major, evening, and they'll just talk of something. It was basically to make sure that he's here. So around 11th, 10:30, 11, there's a lorry which comes towards the rear gate of their house. Now the guard which was placed there, they didn't know what was the seriousness. Guard was placed to make sure that these guys don't go anywhere. Now guard used to see every day they have the dinner and they come and sit in the lawn, talk for an hour or so, then they go back, go in. So they were also okay. And his buddy, who helped him actually, he went to the guard and he told them, I just got news from my home. I've been blessed with a son. Let's celebrate. So he brings in daru and chicken, and these guys also drink that and they must be doing party. There's a vehicle which comes to the rear gate, and this couple and the kid, without picking up even a pin from the house. Missy Kalkat's biggest regret was that her jewelry was left behind, because he told her that in case if they get an inkling that we are planning to run away today, we will not be able to get out. So they sit in the lorry, they are covered with the nets, and they're taken to Miawali. And then it's a long story. To cut it short, somehow Major Kalkat manages to send his wife and kid earlier, then manages to reach India on 20th of October. His wife and kid they are untraceable, because flight which had taken off from Miawali, where DC of Miawali was turned out to be his father's friend, and he put the lady and kid on a flight which was coming to India. That flight, instead of landing in Amritsar, landed somewhere else because of bad weather. It landed somewhere in Rajasthan. So when he landed, he had no clue. But look at this officer. Later on, he retired as a major general. He got into a goods train in the night and reached army headquarters on the 20th morning, 20th October, with his face and dress, everything black. And he walked into Karun Thapar's father, General Thapar, who was a chief during 1962 disgrace. And he told him, this is the plan. 2 days from now, Pakistan is going to invade Kashmir Valley, and they'll take it by force. Maharaja will be captured same day. He'll be forced to sign on instrument of accession because Maharaja was in Kashmir, Srinagar. So you need to do something. Thapar takes him to Baldev Singh, Sardar Baldev Singh, who was the defense minister. Sardar Baldev Singh hears him out. He says, okay, okay. Then he calls up somebody in Information Bureau and tells him, come and interrogate this guy. This guy is out of his mind. So they don't believe him. And then when he's leaving after day-long interaction with all these guys, he requests Colonel Thapar, please give me a jeep and couple of guards because Punjab was on fire. I need to look at my family. He said, okay. So he's sent to Punjab. Story is over. 2 days later, when the Kashmir Valley gets invaded, and another 2 days later, when Indian Army or Indian headquarters comes to know, by the time they wake up, it is 24th. That day, Sardar Baldev Singh walks into Pandit Nehru's office and tells him, कि sir, ये तो मुझे पहले पता था 20 तारीख को somebody had come, but we didn't take him seriously. So this was known. He said, you get that guy, trace him out. I want to meet him today. So somehow they, because army chief had gone, so they got him back. And luckily, Kalkat also got his wife and he met his wife and child. So he's brought back to Pandit Nehru. The story is so fancy that Baldev Singh is standing. That time Colonel Thapar is standing. Nehru Sahib is sitting and सामने table के उस तरफ Major Kalkat is sitting. And Major Kalkat is narrating his story. So when he finishes, Pandit Nehru looks at these two gentlemen who are standing behind and asks them, is he right? They said, yes. He picks up two paperweights. One he throws on Baldev Singh, one he throws on Colonel Thapar, later Chief of Army Staff, Indian Army 62. And now this Major Kalkat is written in his biography that I was told don't write this and shape the letter, whatever. So not only that British planned it and we were clueless, we also refused to acknowledge the fact that the officer whose wife and child are missing and he's just landed, somehow managed to reach India. He's come to you all covered with coal dust. And you're trying to say that he is out of his mind. And by the way, Shiriji, just as a linking this thing, all those people, those two subedars, that officer, that buddy, DC Miawali, all were executed by Pakistan Army during after a court martial for helping Major Kalkat run away to India. So there's a book called Far Flung Frontiers, written by that later Major Kalkat, A.S. Kalkat, and in that he's just written one chapter. Otherwise, this story of his is worth making a movie actually. If you go into details in those 20 odd pages. So this is how it happened. So British not only facilitated that, Jammu Kashmir Army Chief was a retired British officer, Brigadier Scott, who had been elevated and made Major General by Maharaja. What he did in pending this invasion of Kashmir, see, Punch Rajouri had almost, Punch had 90%, Mirpur had 80%, and Muzaffarabad had about 92% Muslim population. And rest were those 10, 15, and of course, Mirpur had maximum 20% of Hindus and Sikhs. So they knew, and the Muslim League affiliate in Jammu and Kashmir was Jammu Kashmir Muslim Conference, which was raised by Sheikh Abdullah. But later on, realizing that it has very communal undertones and he wanted backing of everybody, so he raised a new party called J&K National Conference, which also exists today. And his rebels who had come, who had agreed, okay, let's, with Sheikh Abdullah when he was raising National Conference, they had gone back and re-raised Muslim League, Muslim Conference. Muslim Conference was kind of representing Muslim League in J&K because princely states were not allowed to have political parties like Congress, Muslim League. So they had their affiliates in our. So Rajouri Punch area, because of Muslim majority, huge majority, when you have 80 or 90%, is almost brutal majority. So Pakistan was very sure that this area will come to us. Now Panga was Kashmir. Kashmir also had Muslim majority, but then they had the influence of Muslim conference inside Kashmir was minimal. They had influence only from Muzaffarabad till about Baramulla. Thereafter, it was Jammu Kashmir National Conference, which was Sheikh Abdullah's party. And Sheikh Abdullah was in jail, and then he was very close to Pandit Nehru. He had just been taken out, released by Maharaja. So these people not only did that, what this Scott guy did, there were two battalions in Kashmir Valley. One was guarding the border at Muzaffarabad, and one was hanging around as a reserve. Now, these battalions were World War II battle-hardened battalions. 4 Jack infantry, which was guarding border at Muzaffarabad, had earned 5 military crosses in operation in World War II, which had just finished a couple of years back. So what this squad guy did, as per plan, a lot of pressure was being put on Hindus and Sikhs in Rajouri and Punch and Mirpur, which were other side of Pir Panjal. Now, instead of really looting them and taking away the ladies or girls, they were only threatening them, setting their houses on fire, so that these guys then go to Maharaja and request him, sir, please save us. There's a lot of pressure coming on to us. So this was done by Britishers, and what Scott did, Scott advised Maharaja that Srinagar is okay, so we will just keep 1 battalion in Muzaffarabad, and rest of army can be sent to Rajouri and Poonch and Mirpur. So practically, when the invasion happened, there were only 2 companies, about 240 odd people, guarding whole Kashmir Valley. One third company was down below near Poonch, only place called Kohala, and 4th one was in Kupwara, again Keran, far away. So between invaders and Maharaja, there were 2 companies, and there were 2 Muslim companies. Troops were from Poonch. They were not Kashmiri. Kashmiri Muslims were hardly a part of Maharaja's army. And those guys were also bought over by Pakistanis. So when the invasion came, they just opened the gates. And rest is history, how Brigadier Jindra Singh with the 100 men, for 5 days, he kept on delaying them, and Indian army reached. So it's been a long monologue, Shriji, but this is how it panned out. And why I mentioned those Prince's Khan and that idea Wavell had given to princes that big states will remain independent, that was to tell us that why Maharaja Hari Singh at one point of time was actually planning to remain independent, because that was promised to him. And big princes, even even Nawab Hyderabad, these guys had been promised. And secondly, when nothing was happening from Delhi, because Sheikh Abdullah was in jail, so in July itself, Maharaja of Jammu and Kashmir sent his deputy PM to Delhi to request Pandit Nehru, let's start talking, because independence is only, like you said, it had been rescheduled, and it was just about a month away. Pandit Nehru told him, you go back, tell your Maharaja, first release Sheikh Abdullah, who had been arrested for treason and subversion, for running campaign against Hindu Maharaja. First you release him, then you talk to us. And of course that didn't happen. So on 12th of August, 3 days before independence, Maharaja Hari Singh wrote 2 letters, one to Jinnah in Karachi and one to Nehru Sahib in Delhi, telling them, as per Indian Independence Act, there's a provision that till the time states finally accede to one of the nations, the status quo will be maintained. Only difference will be, instead of British, it will be status quo with the nearest state. Since J&K touched boundaries of future Pakistan and India, so he wrote to both of them. So that thing was called standstill agreement. Okay, just hold on, we will discuss, then we'll decide where I am going to go. 12th August, and Jinnah accepted it immediately. Delhi, as earlier, they said no. You get Sheikh Abdullah out, send your delegation. It was a typical bureaucratic response where they wanted to delay. And same Delhi accepted instrument of standstill agreement from Nawab of Hyderabad later, who actually got so many Hindus killed. So this black painting of Maharaja Hari Singh's character, blaming him that he wanted to be independent, so he was delaying it. Luckily, in 1953, in a parliamentary speech, Pandit Nehru had, I know what sense prevailed that time, he actually spoke about it. That, yeah, they had come to me in July 47, but somehow it didn't work out. We couldn't talk. So when you blame Maharaja Hari Singh, first one must understand this was the reason Nehru was in love with Sheikh Abdullah, and he refused to talk in July 47. In August 47, 12th August, he refused to sign standstill agreement. And on 17th August, when boundaries were declared, till that day, Maharaja Hari Singh didn't even know whether borders of Jammu and Kashmir are going to touch Pakistan or India, because Ravi River, which separated today's Punjab, like Pathankot and those areas, had no bridge, and future of Pathankot, which was part of Gurdaspur district, was not known. So people here also give a lot of credit to Nehru ji for getting Gurdaspur to India, because if Gurdaspur had not come, as per them, Jammu and Kashmir would have technically gone to Pakistan, because Indian Independence Act said the princely state which is going to join one of two dominions should have contiguity, geographical contiguity, and that's the reason why Junagadh was not allowed, or even Hyderabad was not allowed, despite their Nawab wanting to go to Pakistan, because they were not sharing any boundary with them. So till 17th August, our Maharaja didn't even know. So this Gurdaspur coming to India was not decided by Mountbatten. It was not decided by Radcliffe. It was decided by Wavell. It was decided because Sikhs had this insecurity that Darbar Sahib is bang, because Lahore was supposed to come to India, which was Hindu majority. It was given to them, but Sikhs had an insecurity that Darbar Sahib should be protected at all cost. Pakistan is going to, even if Lahore were to come to India, Pakistan would have to start on the other side of Lahore. So distance from Darbar Sahib to other side of that Lahore would have been few kilometers. So they wanted protection. And down south, Maharaja Patiala and all these guys, they had some issues inside. They said, we will not give access to Darbar Sahib. So Darbar Sahib had to be protected from three sides. So Wavell ke time pe hi, when Sikhs were demanding Khalistan, and they were told, okay, stay with India, don't go for this ideology. The bargain had already been done. So Gurdaspur was to come to India. Nehru and Edwina Mountbatten's love affair had nothing to do with that development. But Maharaja was not aware. And yet, he had decided to construct a road from Bhadrawa and Jammu, which links with Chamba and Himachal. Because Himachal was going to, a pure Hindu state. So it was going to British India, it was known. So he had those plans, that even if Gurdaspur district goes to Pakistan, he wanted to join India. He had no doubts in his mind. And people say 80% Muslims, and why was he planning to join India? Because out of 80%, 20% were Shias. And he knew joining India meant whether you were a Shia or a Sunni or a Kashmiri Pandit or a Dogra, you will be looked after. But had the whole state gone to Pakistan, just because they were Muslims in majority, we would have seen what would have happened to Hindus, Sikhs, Shias, Ahmadiyas. And we don't have to really debate about it. What Pakistan did to its minorities is well documented, and everybody knows it. So I was trying to stop after a long monologue, and I continued. Shiriji, I have now finished.
Thank you so much, sir. See, very interesting. You have to listen to or read memoirs of many officers to understand some of the sneaky things that the Britishers did across that border, both on Indian side and on Pakistani side. You remember, you mentioned that the chief of army of both sides used to be in constant touch. And it is believed that these two rascals used to converse in French, thinking that the Indian Intelligence Bureau, which was just still coming up, would not be able to pick up French. But they had a guy who knew French very well.
Actually, Shirji, I'm not sure about, because it's not documented. But the communication system was under British only that time. So in any case, no. In fact, Colonel Thapar that time was looking after intelligence and operations both. And when the first signal, which was intercepted by somebody else, when they invaded Punch, they sent a message back to Karachi saying, in fact, to GHQ, which was in Rawalpindi, saying that we need rations and so and so, and so many Gurkhas killed. So when Gurkha word was intercepted and sent to Delhi, the Indian officers, they were pondering, this Gurkha kahan se aa gaya? Where are Gurkhas deployed? Nobody knew that Maharaja's army had Gurkhas. So they were not aware. So they took almost 2 days to decipher that who's the Gurkha, where was the Gurkha. Only thing, there's something I written in detail about all this in my book. And then they came to know, okay, that Jammu and Kashmir has been invaded. So communication setup, army communication setup in any case was with British. They were, like I said, they were just trying to keep it under a kind of, I'll say, boiling point. Beyond, they didn't want India to attack Pakistan. That was the thing. They wanted Jammu and Kashmir taken by Pakistan without India getting involved. And that's why on 24th of October, 2 days after invasion, when our Maharaja sent his same deputy prime minister, Mr. Batra, to Delhi with a blank letter signed, he said, whatever you want to sign, this gentleman has authority to sign on my behalf. Please let him sign instrument of accession, send forces. And still, Mountbatten, he convinced Nehruji, and for next 2 days, Mr. Menon kept on flying to Srinagar, going back to Delhi, coming to Jammu, going back to Delhi. So Mountbatten was also trying to give time to Pakistanis to come and capture Maharaja alive, which they didn't. They couldn't, because Dogra army of 100 people, assorted army, cooks, washermen, soldiers, everybody under their illustrious leader, Brigadier Chief of Army Staff that time, Brigadier Jinnah Singh, 100 versus 6,000. And they fought for 4 nights between Muzaffarabad till outskirts of Baramulla. And finally, he died as the last man, last round, as ordered by Maharaja on 27th of October, around 2:33 in the morning. And 5 hours later, Indian army started landing in Srinagar. That's how. Now, this part of history is also not taught in Kashmir, within Jammu and Kashmir, within India. Because if this history is taught that Dogras came and saved Kashmir, then Kashmiri kids, future generation would have been thankful to Dogra army and Indian army. They were given another lollipop, saying one guy called Makbul Sherwani, he stood in the way, he saved Kashmir. So I mean, that's a slightly different topic. We'll discuss some other time. But this is how narrative. It is all narrative, Shiriji. Even that time it was narrative building. Even today it's narrative building. Thanks to this democracy of information brought in by social media, that people who have different opinions based on evidence, people like us, our voices are being heard by those who want to hear. And now slowly, truth is coming out. Ji.
Thank you so much, sir. A lot to ponder here, and some of you are saying, why are we talking about this? Well, if you don't understand who has sacrificed for you, if you don't know what they went through, they lay down their lives. It has to have a meaning. And this concept of Bharat was very clear to many. And we just sit and say, oh, it's too late now. You have to understand what happened. And personally, I've also got some stories. When we meet, we'll talk about these things, because I need some closure also. My grandfather was in the Royal Indian Navy, if I remember correctly. And there was a problem. I'm still trying to trace it down. Anyway, so thank you.
Mutiny, naval mutiny.
Yes.
That was one of the reasons that Britishers actually packed up and went off. One of the reasons.
Yeah.
If you want to attribute it to charkha and cotton, then it's our wish. Otherwise, it was a military reason. World War II, killing their economy, Indian mutiny happening in Navy, which they never thought. And of course, Netaji doing his bit, INA. So all these are the reasons for Britishers to pack up, and of course, American pressure. And why we're talking about Shiriji, I think the gentleman who asked this has forgotten that initially I told this was the month. 3 days from tonight, on 8th, 9th, my own district was invaded in 1947. So this is a time we need to talk about what happened in 47.
Absolutely. I mean, if you don't understand how history played out, I mean, people in Kashmir Valley, that's what I say. You guys have been completely blinded and also brainwashed. You're intelligent people. You need to lift your head up and see. Otherwise, you could be living the same life of poverty that POJK's people are living today, or worse. So think, you should be blessing and thanking your Mahadev for doing what they did to you. And still there is a sense of entitlement. Still, it's very sad. Sir, I'm not going to take any questions today because we have a back-to-back program starting in 15 minutes.
Oh, short.
Yes. Thank you so much, Colonel Raina. No, I didn't want to interrupt you. This story was amazing. And I'm sure this will live on our YouTube channel for a long time. You need to understand a lot of sacrifices were done, and what we have today. People need to understand that India is what it is because of the valor of a few and their conviction that this is what is good for the country. Thank you so much, sir. Namaskar.
Namaskar.